Welcome back, everyone. I'm Will Carr Speaks. This is the Dijonacci sequence, and me and XRPsean are here with you guys today. Excited to get into a special edition Wednesday night. We typically have just been doing our shows once a week, and now we are getting into maybe doing 2 shows a week. So we'll see how this goes. We have some news in XRP to talk about right now, some things that are going on within the financial industry, as well as, we're leading up to XRP Vegas right now. And last year, Sean and I at XRP Las Vegas did a ton of interviews and had some really amazing conversations. A lot of those interviews we had yet to share. So kind of the point of this Wednesday night special is getting those interviews out where we can actually show what we did last year, showcase those, and just kind of have some more fun conversations. So with that in mind, we're gonna play this video at some point for you guys, but just excited to be sitting here, kicking it, having conversation like we always do. And yeah, that's the intro for the show today.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun in Vegas last year. We're going to see how well these interviews age since we're, I think, only like 40 something days, 50 days until XRP Vegas 2026. So
Wow.
our first video up, and I think the only one we'll cover today, is your interview with Coach JV. So I'm going to see if I can't get this to play for us.
Yeah, this was a good one.
Tell us a little bit about Merlin.
Yeah, Merlin here is the smartest way to track our crypto. We found back in the last bull run, we had spreadsheets. So we'd be looking at our exit strategy. So our software company created Merlin, brings all of the exchanges into one place. So you're organized, daily gains and losses, and you can also set your exit targets. So if you're cruising along, living your life, you don't have to stare at your exchanges all day. We send you an alert when you're about 10% away from your exit target, and you go exercise the actual trade. So it's the smartest way to track your crypto.
I mean, I can see why that makes a lot of sense, why people would need it and why you'd use it. Tell me a little bit about why XRP?
Why XRP? So I got into XRP from being an ex-banker. So when I first saw XRP, somebody walked into one of my businesses, and I was completely anti-crypto. And I came from the banking system. 2017, Jamie Dimon said, it's a pet rock. You'd get fired if you got caught trading it, right? So I left the banking system, getting away from financial services. Somebody walked in, showed me the X symbol, pulled up the X, and it was a phoenix rising from the ashes. And that is my whole story. that was a phoenix rising from the ashes right there. That was my whole story, a phoenix rising from the ashes. So first, that attracted to me spiritually. And I started diving the mechanisms of it. I'm like, why aren't banks using this? Then I found it in Bank of America's patent. Then I went down the rabbit hole. So I understand the mechanism of nostro, vostro, the liquidity crisis within banking. Yep. And so it really made sense to me. And so when I started to dive into it, I went all in 2020, and I keep going all in.
Yeah, that's awesome. Me too. And so I'm glad you brought up, you talk about the Phoenix rising being like a spiritual thing for you. One of my favorite messages that you have is that Christ is King.
Amen.
And that you bring this whole this new revolution of technology into the awakening of consciousness. And so I'd love it if you could just explain and talk a little bit about that and a little bit about the fourth turning and how you see blockchain specifically tying into this new awakening and this new earth that we have.
Absolutely, yeah. So basically you have the fourth turning, you have the 50-year jubilee in 2000, that's biblical. Yep. In 2017, is it ironic that Jamie Dimon, Larry Fink from BlackRock was telling us to look this way as there was a monetary debt reset happening, right? So they're all telling us to run from these deflationary assets as they're accumulating and building the deflationary system so they could run to it, right? It's been the same thing, nothing new under the sun, repeats itself over and over again. So as we headed into the fourth turning from 2008 to 2030, that's our crisis stage. But certain people are rising from the ashes. XRP, the Bitcoin community, I'll give them a shout out as well, as we are all awakened to the new consciousness level. We're moving from Web 2.0 to Web 3.0, industrial to technical, to an archaic banking system, to a new banking system. Spirituality is connectivity. I don't like to use quantum because of quantum financial system, but we are moving to a quantum system where everybody's going to be working together. Everybody's going to have access to the financial system. And Jesus Christ told us this time was coming. He said, go up and to the right. I will prepare a supper for you. He said, in the middle, be in the middle. Don't be too left. Don't be too right. Don't be too Bitcoin. Don't be too much XRP. Be in the middle Honor Jesus Christ in all you do, and you will see these assets will actually come to you. I truly believe that.
Yep. Well, and I've never heard you talk about what I'm about to say next, but I'm curious. I'm curious because I also talk a lot to my friends and my people about the quantum of there's no past, there's no future. Everything is, the whole idea of the quantum is everything is happening at once, right? And so I'm curious because I grew up in a home where I was taken to church twice a week, a very traditional Christian family. And recently I've learned a lot about the difference between the gospel of Jesus versus the gospel of Paul, and how Jesus really teaches this idea of oneness, whereas Paul really taught this idea of works. And so, I mean, a lot of your message just resonates. I've never heard you talk about that specifically, but I feel like that's what you mean, this idea of Christianity is not this idea, and Jesus is not this guy that came here to give us a bunch of rules. But what he did was he came here to teach us that we're one with God, and that through our life we can be connected, and we can be one, and all this ties into what's happening in the world right now. So
what I think about is after 18 years of being gone, right? And I'm no biblical scholar. I'm just going based on what I know, what I've experienced through Jesus Christ. He comes back after 18 years on a donkey. You would think if you're the king of the world, you would be on a white horse, your hair ablazing, right? He's wearing a sheet with Birkenstocks, comes back on a donkey, sits in the back of the church. He's not invited to the front. So he comes out with all of us, the people, right? Not the people in the robes, not the people shaking their things, doing vain repetition. And he goes from village to village, and he said, if they don't listen to you, keep moving. They're mother and brother outside. They are not my mother and brother. Therefore, they do not think like me. He's allowing everybody to understand that they're connected to the vine. And throughout the Bible, he says, your faith has made you healed, right? And so what we're experiencing is a disconnect from religion to relationship. That's what I really believe is happening. And that's what you're seeing here. This is a bunch of people from all different walks of life coming together. Things like XRP, things like Bitcoin give people purpose. It gives them something to focus on. It gives them something to move forward towards. And that's what humanity is doing now. We're expanding consciousness. The darkness is being revealed. And it's a beautiful time to be alive. And you're seeing the separation. You're seeing all these actors get exposed. Authenticity is a new currency. People like you, your channels are blowing up because people want authenticity. They can feel it. That era is dying off. And that's what this represents. I mean, when people think of cryptocurrency, they think of, because they indoctrinated us, fraud, Ponzi scheme, but we're moving from that old system. So
the technology is agnostic.
Totally. And it's about connectivity. And we'll talk about the first thing you brought up is the present moment, right? The future is used for anxiety, right? It's not even here. The past is used for depression. Right? This is the present moment. This conversation is the only thing that's happening right now. Everybody in this room is having their own quantum experience. Every decision people make tonight is going to be their future tomorrow, right? So every thought you're having right now, every action you take within this moment is dictating your future. So in 2020, when I got into XRP, I knew and had conviction that I would be right here, right now. So when the SEC dropped the case against Ripple, I had conviction. I already knew that this was going to be something, so I stayed with that. And I stayed present in that. So are we causing that, or is it a cause and effect? I think it's a cause and effect, right? And that's what Jesus is teaching. He's like, do you want to be healed? Pick up your mat and walk, right?
Yeah, the kingdom of God's within us.
That's right. Amen.
I love it, man. Coach JV, it's great talking to you. I really appreciate this,
Thank
man.
you, brother.
It's great to meet
appreciate you. Love you guys. Warriors, rise. Get your shit together. Let's go.
No, he takes it to that next spiritual level, which is awesome. Any conversation you can have with him is truly genuine, and he gives great hugs.
Absolutely. Strong hugs.
Very strong. Yeah, I love how he says that, our consciousness is expanding, and basically everybody's waking up and understanding the new way forward, not only in digital assets but the world as a whole. So yeah, it's just really cool what he's doing. We'll go ahead and plug Merlin. If you guys haven't checked out that app, it's a really cool app just to kind of help you organize your assets and your exit strategies. It's just a really responsible thing to do as a digital asset holder. So I love what he's doing. Would I have that exit strategy? I don't per se need Merlin, but it's really cool to look at it and to understand where everything's valued and seeing it in real time. So they're doing some really cool things over there at Merlin, and their whole team is awesome. it's cool to see those guys year in and year out, and just to connect with them. So I'm excited to see them again and to see what they're up to now. I still feel the exact same way that I did some 11 months ago when we were at XRP Vegas 25. So we're excited to get to see a lot of familiar faces there and to reconnect, and just to, like I said last week or on Sunday, we're just reigniting the fire, and it's almost like going to church camp, you know. It's just cool to, you know, get on fire, and just to have that energy. You've got 1,000 people around you that are just as amped as we are. So it's going to be a really cool experience to go back next month. Wow, that's close.
That's wild.
And just to kind of see where everybody else is at. I think we've got a Zach Rector short to show, and a few other Quincy Jones and some other talking heads in the space. And we'll get to those probably next Wednesday. But yeah, it's really cool to, I mean, sorry you couldn't see your head during the interview, but if you were if you weren't over a foot taller than everybody else, then it might be
man.
easier.
Yeah, well, I think, Coach JV, he's just not very tall. His spirit, his spirit is,
Yeah, what is it? He's probably 5'8", but just
yeah,
racked. Just
yeah,
man, he's composed to say the least.
yeah. He's a behemoth. He's a behemoth of a man in spirit for sure. But yeah, man, I mean, I think, that honestly, that's just really cool to me listening to that. I hadn't listened to that since, we did that interview, 11 months ago. And, for me, it's just kind of like bringing it full circle. Like on one hand, I still so strongly feel like this revolution in blockchain is a spiritual awakening, and the people that are involved are here for divine reason. I think we even got into that on the podcast on Sunday, but um, so to hear me get to have that conversation with him, like, to even diving into some theology, which anyone that knows me knows I love to talk biblical theology, which is because I'm just curious, like, and I definitely have opinions, but I always want to be in a place where my opinions can change, and like, I can grow as I learn more information. Like, but the other part, and this is, completely, opposite side of the spectrum, but, like you were talking about with Merlin, at that point, when I was doing this interview, something like Merlin would have been very important for my strategy at the time. Like I had, and obviously Sean, we're, best homies. So like, we talk about stuff all the time, but at that point I had a very solid exit strategy of like when I would sell things, like how much I would sell, like, and so something like Merlin, and I think it just comes down to everybody's got different needs in their life. Like, what do they need? Like, if you're a digital asset holder, taking profits is, no one ever went broke taking profits, right? But so if you plan on taking profits, something like Merlin is an amazing tool to help you keep all of your, crypto. It's not your actual holdings, but for you to know everything that you hold in one spot, and to be able to know when you're getting to certain points to take those profits. But due to things like Flare and DeFi at this point, my profit taking strategy is completely changed, because now that I can earn 8% on my XRP through Flare DeFi, I have no desire. Like maybe like at a certain point, like only if I just want to sell a little bit just to like have a little cash. Like, but honestly, my exit strategies changed so much that, I personally wouldn't use something like Merlin. I think it's a great tool, but it's because I don't plan to sell ever. Like I plan to make 8%, I plan to make 6 to 10 to 12% APY on my XRP for the rest of my life. And that's my exit strategy, to where as it goes up in value, that 5 to 10% or whatever it ends up settling at is so much that I would never want to take profits. I can just live on that passive yield. So,
Yeah, and
um,
And we totally understand the diverse landscape of investors that are in this space. You've got a goal set in mind. That's fantastic. Something like Merlin kind of gives you that extra layer of accountability that maybe you don't have in your friends group or your family. Just gives you something to look at to kind of just remind you what you're doing, because how many times have we sold and the price went up? How many times we sold, the price went down? Merlin just kind of gives you that exit strategy to where no matter what, that's where you're set. Your feelings aren't going to be hurt no matter what happens when you reach that price point. So
Yeah.
that level of accountability, it's awesome for some people for sure. But, maybe you've got a house to pay off, maybe you've got I don't know, who knows how many different loans to pay off. Whatever your needs are, that's up to everybody individually. So as time does go on, it is cool to see the opportunity to be able to stake our assets and to be able to earn on them for a lifetime instead of having to worry about, oh, I've got to pay this off. Well, okay, if it sits there 4 or 5 to 10 years, would you have made more money gathering interest than you would if you paid it off? Because I've got a good friend's mom who asked, well, why wouldn't you just pay your house off and your car and everything else right now? Like, well, it if our asset it if I didn't know what we held and I didn't really believe in the power of staking and making money on our asset, then yeah, it might be easy. Or if I was 40 years older, yeah, I might just wanna pay it off because it's there and I don't wanna have to worry about it anymore, and I can let the rest of it ride. But we certainly understand that everybody's got a different exit strategy. If you wanted to buy at $1 and sell at 3, good for you. Job well done. But in other news for XRP, we've kind of known a lot of the partnerships that have existed for years, and the thousands of NDAs that have been signed between Ripple and other industries and companies across the board. But Watcher Guru posted today that Mastercard launches a program to connect crypto blockchain payments with global banking, partnering with 85 plus companies, including Ripple, PayPal, Gemini, Circle, Binance. So this is now being publicly stated by Mastercard. We kind of got to see some things along the way if you're paying attention in the right places, but this is just one of thousands of announcements that will be coming our way over the next couple of years. That's cool. I personally hope that credit cards go out the door. I hope to never see Mastercard uh, having to utilize the blockchain. It's like I don't think anybody should be held responsible for such crazy interest charged on all of us. But cool, they're a very very large payment company and credit company. So, but that's
Well,
uh,
Mastercard does debit cards and stuff too.
yeah,
And what
good
I
for
would
them.
say, yeah, and what I'd say, yeah, I mean, that's how companies like Mastercard, they make their money in basically two ways, and unless there's something that I'm missing that I would love someone more educated to teach me. But basically the fees every time a transaction, your credit debit card company's taking 3% from the merchant every time. That's what Mastercard, they're making their money that way, and then they're making their money on the crazy interest of people for credit cards. So, I think credit cards definitely serve their purpose. But like, it'd be great to see through DeFi, there's going to be such competition for stuff like that it's going to drive those interest rates down. So I think what we're going to see is, like, rather than credit card companies like Mastercard and Visa being able to make 30% APY on people, there's going to be such crazy competition through this decentralized finance that these credit card companies are going to have to drop their interest dramatically, or they're just not going to be able to compete, because someone's going to charge 30, someone's going to come and say, well, I'll only charge 25, then someone's going to say, well, I'll only charge 20, and and just beat it down as low as it can go. Like
Well, that's the
that.
level playing field that we need.
Exactly. That level playing field, we often think about it with like banks, but it is also very relevant when it comes to things like credit card APY. Like that level playing field is going to drive those down dramatically.
Also, when you're comparing networks to each other, Ripple, Ethereum, Bitcoin, when you talk about gas fees and just the percentages stacking up to use the big coins, Ripple is damn near free to move money. When you look at Bitcoin, you know, I know somebody that sold 2 Bitcoin back when they were around 40,000. They ended up paying over $7,000 in gas fees, network fees. So we're pushing 8 to 10% of the fees and not to mention, but when it's all said and done, you've got your exchange. I mean, so it's almost 10% to exit. So if you got into Bitcoin at 100,000 and it's up to 110 and you're, oh, awesome, I made $10,000. Hold the phone. No, you did not. You might be getting out of this for $500 to $800. And, you know, God bless you, Oren, if you listen to this. But, you know, that level playing field will help industries, people, retail decide who comes out on top. So may the best technology win. You know, this has been happening for a long time when you talk about technology. So we're about to see what an actual level playing field looks like to this industry. And I think the big dogs know about it. I think that's why the news and anything we would hear on public platforms has not touched Ripple and XRP. They won't, because they know.
Yeah.
They know the technology is so much more advanced. And the only way to save Bitcoin, in my personal opinion, is to tokenize it on the XRP ledger.
Let's go.
Why not? Let's get rid of gas fees. If it's going to be some sort of safe holdings for you, then why not put it on the ledger and be able to remove those fees and to be able to move it in 4 seconds and not 4 hours? Just
Tokenized
depending.
will be better than fiat.
Yeah, I did listen to that Rosie Rios clip earlier today, which was just cool. I don't think it's a new clip that's been circling around, right?
The one where she talks about the trains left the station or what?
No, man, I wish I'd saved it. I listened to about 40 minutes of it. No, I think it took place just after the election for Trump, but you know, that was early 2025 and she was saying that 2026 is the year.
And Monica Long just said
Oh, I'm sorry. It was Monica Long.
Oh, well then it's
not Rosie Rios.
okay. Yeah. Well, Monica Long, president of Ripple, just said out in Australia last week when asked what she saw for Ripple and XRP in 2026. She said 2026 is the year of full scale institutional adoption. So, you know, take that for whatever you think. I know what I think.
Oh man, we've been waiting for a long time. I think it's coming on 8 years or so, being in this space and just understanding what we hold. We've been here since since it was in the teens, in the cents. You know, I think my lowest purchase price was 17 or 18 cents of a purchase, which is great, which is awesome. But to have that kind of faith sitting there when an asset is sitting at a quarter while something is in the thousands, but just understanding again, the technology, we're about to have the level playing field that everybody needs and deserves. And not only digital assets, you know, we'll talk about currencies across the world. I do believe Japan may be about to reset whatever they have going on over there, which is huge, but they are in the middle of passing legislation that basically takes XRP out of the crypto sphere. They're about to make it an actual asset usable for their entire system. I watched a few videos this morning about it and saw a couple of posts about it, but that is huge. You know, they may not have the economy that the United States has, but it's number 5 in the world, I believe. So
Yeah.
these are no small peas here. This is huge for the space. Another thing I saw this morning was that Ripple had started a $750 million share buyback that would value their company at around $50 billion. Now, this is still pre-IPO. Now, the largest IPO, I looked it up before we got on here, was Saudi Aramco. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but when they IPO'd in 2019, it was $25 billion. So this would be the largest IPO opening by double. And the cool thing is they don't even need to do it. They've stated it multiple times, like, oh, we don't even need to. And we might IPO in a different country just because what the United States has done to throttle the crypto industry as a whole. But it's cool. They're just sitting there on a $50 billion evaluation.
So awesome.
That also reminds me of the Randy Marsh sitting with his nuts in the wheelbarrow. Yeah. Like, the confidence that these guys know and that we just try to get to experience whenever we see clips of Brad talking or Chris Larson, like, it's, man, we're on the precipice of something so big, and I hope that people are paying attention to be able to, you said it on Sunday. It doesn't matter if you have 100 XRP, 1,000, 100,000, million. It's going to be life changing because if it does what we know it can do, it doesn't matter if you have 1,000 or just you're buying 50 at a time when you can. Not financial advice, but I do think it's a smart investment. And here we are, right? The same days that they were when they were trying to convert mail to email. Like, think about how much friction they got rid of when they didn't have to use the postal service to send a simple letter that could be done in seconds on the internet.
Man.
This
Paradigm
is huge.
shift. And that's where we're at. A massive paradigm shift is taking place. And it's going to be a whole new world. And those aren't my words. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Well,
With that, yeah, I mean, this has been another great episode, man. I always love sitting down, talking with you, Sean. This was awesome getting to share our interview that we did with Coach JV. Last year, for everyone listening, like we said, we've got several more. We're going to be putting these out, and we're going to be recording them on Wednesdays, so they'll go out on Thursday mornings. And up until the show, which is like 6-7 weeks away. So this is going to be this was fun, doing a special Wednesday night edition. And
shout out to Scott Bottoms and also Brad Kimes and his whole team for putting together XRP Vegas 26. You guys make sure to hop online and go to their website. If you haven't got your tickets, I believe there's still some remaining. I can't remember if they're still doing their sale right now where it's $589, but if not, still worth it. Still a whole lot of fun. And we look forward to seeing who the secret large sponsor is that we don't know if it's announced yet or not, but Ripple is definitely on there, right?
That's right. Ripple's definitely a sponsor.
Yeah. So we'll see Brad Garlinghouse, David Schwartz, the bigwigs.
Hopefully there'll be a lot of DeFi there. I'm excited to see how much DeFi is at the conference.
Wink, wink. Well, with that said, I'm XRPsean.
Now I'm Carr Speaks. This is the Dijonacci sequence. Thanks for tuning in.
We'll see you guys next week.